Hi everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Lauren, and today I'm going to be doing the Christmas Traditions book tag. So before I introduce and jump into the tag, I want to take a minute to show off my little bookshelf nook thing. I don't know what you call these things. Is there like a special name for these little guys? I'll insert some video footage of it, a close-up, so you can get a better look at it. I spent pretty much the entire Thanksgiving, long Thanksgiving weekend putting it together, and I'm really proud of it. So yeah, that's how I spent my Thanksgiving. Do you have anything like this that you keep on your shelves, or like how do you like to decorate your bookshelves? I'd be really curious to chat with you about it in the comments down below. So back to the matter at hand. The Christmas Traditions book tag is an original tag created by a friend of mine, Heather, over at Reading with a Vengeance, which I will link her channel down in the video description box below. She is so much fun. Like, I love watching her videos, so I really hope that you will go over there and check her channel out. This seemed like such a fun tag. I really like the prompts, and it also, I'm a big fan of Christmas, so yeah, I thought that this would be a fun way to like warm up for Christmas. So without further ado, let's jump right into the Christmas Traditions book tag. The first prompt on this tag is Red, Gold, Green, a book with any combination of these colors on the cover. I dug through all of the books that I've read lately, and I think that the one that matches this prompt the best is The Past is Red by Catherine M. Valente. Also, this is one of my favorite book covers that I own, any book that I own. The way that this was designed, like the detail, the intricacy of it, I think it's just such a beautiful cover. This was a great book too, and it is Christmassy. It has red, gold, and green, all three of those colors on it. So I think that this fits that prompt pretty well. The second prompt is carol singing. What is your favorite Christmas carol? Pick a book that has some of the words from that title in the book's title. My favorite Christmas carol by a long shot is Silver Bells. I love it. I think it's so beautiful. I think it was my grandmother's, her favorite as well, so it also has that kind of sentimental value for me. But I dug through all of my books. I do not have a single book that has the word bell in the title, and I have, I think, 3 books that have silver in the title. 2 of them are great books, fortunately, and I'm happy to talk about one now. The book that has silver in the title that I really love is The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis. It is in the Chronicles of Narnia. I think in publication order, I think it's maybe the 4th book. I read those books so long ago, but I remember really liking The Silver Chair, that being one of my favorites in the series. And also there is a 90s band that is called Silverchair, I'm sure named after that book. Yes, I am like from the 90s, so of course I know that. Anyhow, so The Silverchair is my answer for that prompt. Next up, we have Christmas Trees, Wreaths, and Evergreen Foliage, a book that features nature as a character. If I understand this prompt correctly, that's not necessarily something from nature that is, literally talks and is a character, but something that plays a big enough part to be sort of considered a character in the book. I've read a couple books recently that I feel like would fit this prompt, but the one that I think really fits it the best is probably The Way of Kings, or honestly all of the Stormlight Archive. In these books, there are storms cycles of storms that happen periodically, and they are incredibly intense. And in order for the foliage to survive, in order for nature to survive, plants have adapted to the weather by like sort of sucking down into the ground whenever a storm is coming. The storms sort of fuel the magic in this world. That type of magic system, with the way that nature and foliage and everything sort of responds to it, it is very much a major player in the book, a major character in the book. So hopefully that fits the prompt closely enough. The next prompt is Sending Cards, a favorite epistolary book that you read this year or want to read next year. I haven't read a whole lot of epistolary novels, even within the last couple years. I had a hard time coming up with one, but one that I did read, and it's not completely epistolary, it just has like letters sort of woven throughout it here and there, and that was The Woodwife by Terry Windling. This woman who is a writer, she inherits this house out in the desert from this man who was a very prolific writer who also just died a kind of mysterious death. And so she heads out there. She wants to figure out what happened. She wants to know, try to research it, and maybe come up with some writing to publish about it, about this man. And so throughout the book, she is finding writings of his, excerpts from his different writings, and also actual letters. The epistolary portions of the book I feel like were used really beautifully. Like, since it wasn't the entire book, there was just sort of a regular narrative running throughout the course of the book, but just having those letters woven into it, I don't know, I thought it was done really masterfully. I really liked that book. So yeah, that is probably the only epistolary type novel that I've honestly maybe read in a couple of years, but fortunately it was awesome. All right, next up we have Mistletoe, a book that features unrequited love. I don't read a ton of like love stories or books that have strong romance elements in them. However, there is one relationship in a book, well, it's really a book series, but a relationship that, man, I'm really rooting for. I haven't finished the series yet, and I can't wait to find out what happens, but it is the Nightmareland Chronicles by Daniel Barnett. The two main characters, John and Mariah, they have this, they kind of hooked up once a long time ago, but that nothing really came out of it. They both have a lot of baggage and a lot of stuff kind of keeping them from each other, but they, you know, you can tell like they're meant to be together and you can't help but root for them. The story is, it is so dramatic. It's a horror thriller, I would say. The sun has disappeared. And so this world has just been sort of set into chaos. And these two have, they've come together, they've set out on this trek, let's say. And they're meeting a lot of obstacles along the way. And yeah, I want them to surely by the end of the series, these two will be together. I'm rooting pretty hard for it. All right, the next prompt is Santa Claus, a book that features an unlikable yet endearing character. First of all, is Santa Claus unlikable yet endearing? I feel like Santa Claus overall is just kind of a likable guy. One book that actually has two protagonists that I feel fit this prompt really well is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, the two protagonists, Ike and Buddy Lee. And they are hardened criminals. They are very set in their ways. I don't want to spoil anything, but they come together for a very important task, a very really dangerous and what winds up being a quite violent task. They're experiencing a lot of emotions and a lot of grief, and they're having a lot of interesting conversations, like getting to know each other. They start out just being a couple of jerks, really, and by the end of the book, you can't help but love both of them. It was probably one of the most violent books I've ever read, but also one of the most meaningful and one of the most well-developed relationships that I've read in a book in a long time. Alrighty, next up we have Nativity Scene, a family-based historical fiction. This is not a genre that I read much of, though I have enjoyed the historical fiction novels that I've read, but I had a really hard time coming up with something to fulfill this prompt. But for this prompt, I think I'm going to go with The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I read this novel a few years ago, and it took me like months to read it. Of course, that was before I had a channel and no imperative to read more and read quickly. It is set in, I think it's like medieval England, and it follows a family as they, the husband, the father, he's a builder, he's a carpenter, and he is wanting to build a cathedral. You know, he faces a lot of adversity along the way. But it definitely has like a historical flair to it. How accurate it is to that time period, I don't know. But I feel like that's a family-based historical fiction. Next prompt, we have Elf on a Shelf, book on your shelf that catches your eye, but you never pick up. I wrote all these questions down, and I didn't have an answer for this one. Oh, I know. Okay, I know exactly what to answer for this prompt. One that I see all the time, that it is staring me down at all times, and I need to pull it off the shelf and read it, is, can you see this? The Gunslinger. I've got The Gunslinger and The Drawing of the Three back here. Everyone on BookTube has read these books. Everyone on BookTube loves them. And I am genuinely interested in reading them. I just, for whatever reason, haven't. That's got to be it. The Gunslinger by Stephen King, hiding behind me. All right, next up is Christmas movies. Favorite adaptation or a book you would like to see adapted? That is generally not a feeling I have about books. Occasionally I'll read a book and I'll be like, yeah, that would make a good TV show, that would make a good movie. But by and large, I appreciate that books are just their books. But Scythe, I want that movie so badly, and it seems like that a movie adaptation of Scythe has been in the works basically since the book came out in 2016. I think they were supposed to write scripts for it, and it switched off, and I don't know if we'll ever have a movie version of Scythe. I'm not holding my breath. It is so cool. The idea of it is so cool. It's a futuristic world, a sort of dystopian world where death has been conquered. People have figured out a way to live forever, basically. And because of that, one thing that sort of threatens mankind is overpopulation. So there are people that are designated as scythes, and their job is to kill people and keep the population down. I don't know, it really worked well for me. I absolutely loved it, and I think that it would be just the coolest movie ever. So I'm gonna keep hoping for a movie adaptation of Scythe. Next prompt is Ugly Sweaters, a book that made you laugh out loud. For this, though this is not a funny book by any stretch of the imagination, it's not a comedy, it made me chuckle a bit, and that is Horror Story by Grady Hendrix. It's a scary book. Like, if you don't read horror, and you get scared easily, like, stay away from this book. It is genuinely a scary book. It made me laugh because it is like openly mocking IKEA. The book is set up to look kind of like an IKEA catalog, actually a lot like an IKEA catalog. And throughout the book, like at the different chapters, it has the furniture diagrams. They look just like the furniture diagrams you get at IKEA when you buy a piece of furniture there, except for there are like these torture devices in the book that are drawn out to look like IKEA diagrams. And I don't know, I just thought it was really clever. It made me laugh. Is that sick and twisted of me? Maybe, but whatever, it's funny. When you're reading a scary book and you're scared, sometimes you just have to, you know, ha-ha a little bit to like lighten the mood. So yeah, so Horror Story. The next prompt is Eggnog, a book that you love that everyone seems to hate, or vice versa. A book that I love that most people seem to hate is A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. I loved this book, but it has an average rating, I think right now, of like 3.2 something maybe. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that book was awesome, though I do, much like Eggnog, I also love it, but I understand why people don't like it. Genre-wise, it's straddling quite a few things, so I can see how people, if they go into it expecting a certain genre, and it's not that really. And then the ending, it does not neatly wrap anything up. I can see how it would bother a lot of people. I mean, I don't mind an open ending at all, but even I was like, it wasn't totally satisfying, so I get it. But it is a great book. It's very atmospheric, and the idea, just awesome. I have very different feelings from what the average rating would lead one to believe the quality of the book is. All right, next we have Exchanging Gifts, a book you read this year and thought, this would be perfect for ... Honestly, pretty much every book that I read, I always end up having someone in mind while I read it. I should probably share those opinions more, and generally it's like friends and family, someone I know that would like the book. But as far as people that you might know as a BookTube watcher, a couple of books that I've read in the past year that I have definitely had that feeling about, like particular booktubers that would like them. First of all is the last book that I completed, The Call by Peter O'Gan, which I will review that. I think next week I'm doing my wrap up. That book was great. And the whole time I was reading it, I was thinking, Leslie at The Nerdy Narrative needs to read this book. If you're watching, Leslie, this is my book recommendation to you. I think it will really work for you. It is one of the most engaging books that I've read in a while. I read it in 2 sittings. I could not put it down. It is dark, it is gritty, and I think that Leslie would really like. I could be wrong, but honestly I think she'd really love it. And then the other one is A Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge. Whenever I read that, I was thinking the one booktuber who would really appreciate this is Yolene at Yolene Reads. Fire Upon the Deep is a sci-fi. It's a hard sci-fi, and Yolene is a high fantasy reader. However, A Fire Upon the Deep has this like epic quality to the sweeping epic quality to it that I think that she would really like. Yolene really likes animal companions in stories. And there's a race in this book that they're almost like dogs. It's like this species of intelligent life on this planet. Humans come to the planet and they build these relationships with this species. The story arc, it's so epic and so engaging, and I think that Yolene would really, really like that one. Last but not least, we have Christmas cookies. Share by tagging some friends. I just now mentioned Leslie and Yolene, so of course I tag you if either of you would like to do this tag. I would love to hear your answers for it. I'll also go on ahead and tag a couple more people down in the video description box below. So please do this tag and let me know if you do, whether you're a booktuber or not. I would love to know your answers for this tag, so please talk to me about it in the comments down below. I think that is going to be it for me today. That is the Christmas Traditions book tag. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that maybe it helped you feel the Christmas spirit a little bit more, or at all to begin with. If you enjoyed this video, I hope that you will like it and possibly subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.